I should just get a pool noodle
Why?
to put on my headphones.
How would that either help or what? How would that How would that solve any of your problems? Have you ever used a pool noodle before?
Well, I would cut it, and then I would cut it in half again. I would put the U side over here, so that it was like a little bit of like a foam buffer on my head.
Oh my god. Did you ever use a pool noodle as like a cannon? You put water in it and you just blow into it and it shoots out the water?
No, I didn't know
What?
pool noodles existed until I came to the United States. We don't have pool noodles where I come from.
Why not? They're fun.
Yeah, but we don't have them. People don't use pool noodles where I come from. People swim like normal people where I come from.
What do you... They're for fun and fancy free.
No, aren't they supposed to like help you float so you learn how to kick while swimming?
Not really, no.
Okay, well, we didn't have
They're just
them.
toys. They're, if you have that, you just use a life jacket thing.
Well, floaties.
Way better.
Floaties.
Yeah, floaties. Just use floaties. No, pool noodles are just for, whacking your friend in the face.
I feel like the reason for their inception was very different from the current usage. Colloquial usage of the equipment, but that's just me, and I'm crazy, so yeah.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, they do help you float, I suppose, but not really. Not as good as floaties do. But they're very fun, Maria. You should try one sometime.
No.
All right, fine.
I mean, I will probably at some point. Pool noodles are great. They look great. They're weird and flimsy.
They're very pretty tough material though, Maria. I don't think it's as soft as you think it is.
Well, I mean, like they're like noodly, I guess. Is my point.
I guess they are, but they are pretty like tough stuff.
Why are we talking about the structural integrity of a pool noodle?
You brought it up. Oh,
I
God.
didn't. All right.
Just start the episode.
You started.
Oh my God.
Preparing to endure is inhuman. Inhuman. This is truly hell in a cell. Hell in a cell. In a cell.
Welcome to Hell in a Cell, an animation podcast hosted by me, James, and that's Maria.
Hi.
All that is staying in.
What?
The pool noodle discussion.
The pool noodle discussion? Oh my God.
Yes. That is staying in on the recording. Anyway,
Fine.
We are an animation podcast where we watch an episode of a cartoon and then talk about it. It's episode 75. How have we done almost 100 of these things?
I don't know, James. You're the one that locked me into an infernal contract.
God. I didn't do that. That was Satan. Don't blame me for Satan.
Fine.
God.
I guess.
Anyway, in celebration of episode 75, we watched a very special TV show. Right?
Well, we were going to watch My Little Pony.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot. Yeah, we're not watching My Little Pony because, well, okay. So a discussion of My Little Pony is really just going to involve the brony culture.
Right.
And their impact on stuff, and that has been done to death by people who are much more knowledgeable about it than us.
Yeah, that's fair. I know. I'm sorry, all of those of you that accumulated here today to hear us talk about My Little Pony and bronies. However,
yes,
it is time for you guys to go home now. We're going to talk about Korra.
It sounded like you said porn.
I didn't. But
Yes.
you did.
I did. Yes, we are watching a show that's a long time coming, Maria.
Yep.
It's a long time coming. The Legend of Korra, Season 1, Episode 3, original release date April 21st, 2012. Written by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. Close?
You did it.
Close enough?
You did it, James. Congratulations.
And directed... Thanks. Directed by Joaquin DeSantos and Ki Win Ryu.
You did it. Congratulations.
I may have practiced a little beforehand.
Good job. It shows.
Oh, and animated by Studio Mirror.
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 Mirror. All right, Mariya, let's talk about Korra. Oh my goodness. Okay, so really quick backstory. I watched Korra as it was airing back in 2012. Those were the good old days. Remember when we had hope, Mariya? I don't. Anyway, I watched it back then. I really liked it. I was like, this is great. I watched it recently as it all got shoved up on Netflix. And I'm like, this is... Yeah. All right. Yep. That was my review of Korra.
Yeah.
Hello, Mariya.
Hi.
And then you started watching Korra blind.
Yeah, so I will remind everybody that I am getting a degree in communications, and I put it to very good use
Oh my god.
while watching this show, because I literally sent James an entire rewrite of the show after I watched the first season. So, yeah. Warning, So I wrote an entire essay on Discord, which was not APA formatted with 0 citations. However, it was not a research paper. Therefore, citations were not required.
I gave her a C-.
Which is bullshit, by the way. I'm going over your head. I'm sending an email to the dean.
Okay, I am the dean.
That's not how that works.
Deans can teach classes, can't they?
I guess they can. I haven't had a dean teach me class, so I guess,
No.
I feel
I haven't seen
like
it.
that makes the reappeal for a grade pretty redundant if the dean themselves are teaching the class. Like, I don't where
Right.
do you go from there? That just feels kind of wrong
President
and
of
unfair.
the college?
I guess they don't know you. They don't know your department. They don't know,
The president at my college knew me. She liked me for some reason. I don't know why.
the one that got
the one person
the one
she
that
liked.
left. The one that left.
She left, right? Yeah. She left.
Because I was there when the new,
Yeah.
for the interim and then for the new president to be instated. It was great.
Yeah, no, the one that left. She liked me. The bad one.
That was freaking weird, James. Anyway.
All that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, okay, Mariya. Let's. Okay, Mariya.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
You have a choice.
Okay.
All right. You can either give us your usual detailed recap, or you can shorten it and have a much longer your rant about Korra.
Okay.
And its story.
Okay.
So you make a decision. We're not going to do the full recap if you're going to go
Yeah.
completely hog wild on
Okay.
Korra.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I was thinking. I was thinking we could do this a weird structure of we do a shorter recap where I quickly recap what happened, because story-wise nothing super long happens. It's not like there's 5 plot lines here. We cut to the chase.
Pretty much one.
It's
plot
pretty
line.
much one plot line. We know where we're going. We go there. So, we could do that, and then we can talk about some of the animation and stuff, because there's a lot to talk about that. And then we can talk about Amon, and
we have a structure this episode, people.
yeah, and then look, it's like an essay, okay?
Oh my god.
And
everybody just left.
Everybody just left. All right. Well,
It's
all
fine.
of the nerds that are still there. Yeah.
man.
Go ahead. Push up your glasses. We know who you are.
Is this essay an AP style? Yeah, or are we using Chicago?
Good
Oh no,
God.
Chicago's for scientific stuff. What was the other one?
There's MLA, APA,
MLA,
Harvard. Which one are we talking about? We usually used APA in school. But anyway, we're
everybody
not
used
citing articles, so we don't need APA style.
Okay.
All
right.
And then we can talk about Aang and parenting stuff.
Oh god, okay.
Basically, we're gonna go.
Are we gonna talk about politics though?
Well, that's what the Amon stuff is going to be about, I guess, a little bit. Okay,
Oh, hold on, Mary, hold on.
Yes.
Content warning.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about politics.
A little bit. I'm
gonna talk about it a lot.
Well, I mean, like, we're not talking about current politics. We're just talking about themes, political themes, and their relation to the show, because there is some relation to it in some way, shape, or form. Anyway.
There's a lot of relationship.
Yes.
Let me finish my content warning.
Okay.
Content warning. If any discussion of politics makes you angry or uncomfortable, maybe leave.
Especially when we hit the Amon section. So I guess you could listen until there, and then if you want to, like, sort of boop, 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 like the little button at the bottom, it just goes like, just like tap it.
It's not like we haven't talked about politics before.
Yes, but like, I guess this is where we're like intentionally going into it, knowing we're going into politics. So it makes sense to talk about that.
We are going to be revealing a bit of our own politics through this, aren't we?
A little bit, I suppose, but it's not.
I know
like,
you want to be apolitical, Mariya.
I know. I like. It's fine. The reason I say that is because, like, I don't take lightly the fact that we get to talk about stuff and people listen to us. Like, I don't take that fact lightly, and even if there's like 5 people that listen to us, I don't want to misinform them in any way, shape, or form. So that is why I choose to stay apolitical, right? Like, because there's a lot of stuff, context changes things, and I spend a lot of my time in school and don't have time to do that as of late. So, you know, nuance, man, takes a lot of study. My point being, like, we're not experts. This is opinions.
No.
Do with that what you will. Hate us.
We're slightly more informed than the average person.
Yes.
And that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
That's like, what we build ourselves at since the very beginning.
Yes, we're slightly more informed, but, like, in no way, shape, or form do I have a degree in, like, political science or economics or something like that.
Or animation.
Or animation, for that matter. So, you know, like, a lot of this is themes and me, like, applying things that I learned in school in what we, like, talk about. Anyway.
However, that should not disqualify us from talking about this stuff.
Yeah, no, we could definitely, that's what I'm saying, like, we could talk about this and that's fine, but I'm just trying to make it clear that these are our opinions, and we're not really stating, like, fact of, like, this is what you should think and this is the correct way to think about it, right?
No,
like,
we're not coming at this from the point of view of a professor.
Exactly. We're not experts.
Researcher.
We're not experts.
That being said, we're going to get into the weeds, I think, on this.
We will, yes, definitely. I mean, yeah, a little bit. So, okay. So we're going to do a small recap. We're going to talk about animation stuff. When we hit the Bond stuff, there will be some, like, talking about writing and that sort of stuff. And there will be some talk about politics and themes related to that. And then we're going to finish off with, like, some talk about Aang and parenting stuff that went on in the show and how it could have been better, basically. And after that, any other bullshit that we have that I remember eventually.
Slight spoilers for Korra, I guess.
Yes, there might be a little bit of spoilies for Korra, which I apologize.
So many disclaimers on this.
Yep. It's gonna be a long one. Buckle up, y'all.
Oh my god. Yep. All right. Let's get into the stuff we did like first, I suppose. Yes. Mariya, start us off.
So, we start off this episode. Yes. So we start off this episode with Korra, Bolin, and Mako practicing for championship for their. I forgot what the sport was called.
Pro bending.
Yes, the pro bending thing.
We gotta get to nationals.
Yeah, so the pro bending thing, they've won, but now to get to the championship, they have to, like, pay a bunch of money, which they don't have. So Bolin tries to go earn them some money by using Pabu to do circus tricks and earns one coin. And
hey, that's one more coin than he had before.
This is true. And some shady man rolls up in his shady car and drops a bunch of money in his car, in his little like money pot.
I don't know if you know that his name is Shady Shin or that you're just calling him Shady. I genuinely don't know, Mariya. Please tell me.
I mean, I know his name is Shady Shin, but I just thought that
Okay.
is a good way to.
I know. I had to confirm because you're very bad with names.
I am very bad with it, but I remembered that.
Okay,
Anyway,
because it's a great
up,
name.
Rolls up in a shady car and drops a bunch of shady ass money in Bolin's little money cup. That Bolin's like,
God.
ah, shit, all this money. What do you want from me? It's like, it's just a small like bodyguard duty, man. Just it's a little shady, but not shadier than normal.
I love Bolin, but how did he think he was gonna get 30,000?
I know.
I think yuan. I think the currency is yuan.
Yeah.
By performing on the street.
I know. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess. But like,
Did he believe like that lie that homeless people make like how much money a day?
Probably. I mean, it's really interesting. Anyway, we're not gonna get into this just yet. Hold on.
Okay, sorry.
We can't do this, Jace. We got a structure to follow today. So much to do, not enough time. Anyway, so Bolin is like, yeah, cool, and goes with Shayshin and disappears into the night. Mako is like, oh shit, my brother's missing, the goofball, where'd he go? And then him and Korra, well, he goes to see Korra, who's like, yeah, no, I haven't seen him. And then they both go do detective-y stuff by trying to find where Bolin went, and it's kind of detective noir because it's very like steampunk, but not entirely because they don't really go all the way into that trope.
Not
but
really.
Mako bribes a couple street urchins and a street urchin a couple of times and gets Bolin's location. And they like get beat up a bunch. They do get beat up, right? Yeah, they get beat up a bunch and then fall asleep in a park.
Wow, okay. Just speeding right through that. That's fine. Go ahead. They fall asleep together in a park. Yeah. And then what happens? Right?
And then this dude, I forget what his name was. I don't even think he has a name.
He doesn't have a name.
He doesn't have a name.
He's the guy that yells in the park.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that like yells in the park. He's like the end is nigh type, but like with a purpose.
Sozin's comet is coming again.
Yeah. And so he's there. He's trying to like raise awareness for the I forgot what the political
equalist.
Yes, the equalist movement. There we go. I was thinking populist for some reason.
God.
Anyway, so
that's pretty much what.
Yeah.
How do you remember Shady Shin? But you know what? Keep going.
You know what I am.
This episode is already a disaster.
Anyway, so the equalist movement.
Yes,
he's like talking, yelling through his like weird ceramic foghorn. Is just
my God, it's a megaphone.
Megaphone. There we go. That's the word. Anyway, megaphone, and is like talking through it. He's like, the benders, they're the worst. Blah blah blah. And Korra's like, where's Bolin? And just fucking breaks his table and shit. And then the pamphlets go flying, which is great. And then they run away because the cops show up because they're not allowed to like attack citizens in the middle of the day because that's how cities work and that's assault. Yeah, Korra, you're a criminal.
She is 100% a criminal.
She has committed so many crimes. The only reason she walks is because she's the Avatar.
We'll talk about it.
Anyway, so she's like, they grab a bunch of pamphlets and then they run, they bolt out, and then Mako, being the smart broody type, just figures out that it's like a weird puzzle thing, and they find out where the location for the Equalist rally is, and go there, all disguised and shit, like. Yeah. And then Amon shows up. Yes, disguised. And then Amon shows up, does like a speech thing about how benders are awful and they're quashing us non-benders on their heels, even though they're like literally 3 millionaires that are like name-checked that are non-benders.
Don't forget his tragic backstory.
Yes, and it has is so earlier in the park, Mako tells Korra his tragic backstory about how his family was killed.
We got 2 tragic backstories.
Yeah, we got 2 tragic backstories. This is important because it'll come up later, so pay attention, nerds. Write it down.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so
this will be on the test.
This will be on the test. Anyway, so Mako tells Korra about his tragic backstory about how his family is killed by firebenders, and then Amon tells the Eagleist rally about how his entire village was burned down by some firebender douchebag. And how that's why he thinks all benders are awful and, you know, could just kill us all in one go, even though there are literal fucking chi blockers that exist right now. And then proceeds to take away someone's bending powers. In the meantime, Korra tries to figure out a cool ass distraction to make sure Bolin doesn't get his bending powers wiped.
Yep. And she learns about the power of steam.
Yes, yeah, basically. She steam bends a little bit.
She does.
She also bends a bunch of pipes by throwing a dude into them.
That's not bending.
I mean, the pipe's bent.
Dude.
The pipe's bent. I don't know what you
God.
want from me.
Korra's not a pipe bender. I mean, you know what, it's fine. Keep going.
Anyway, so she figures out her whole like thingamabob. Well, you know, she throws an engineer into a bunch of pipes, learns how to pipe bend, and basically leads Bolin and Mako out and away. Naga does some cool shit, which is probably the last time Naga gets to do any cool shit in this entire show.
Hold on, let me think. Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Scares off a bunch of chi blockers, and they all go home and live happily ever after. The end.
All right.
For this episode. For this
episode, they do not live happily ever after at all.
Yeah.
Korra is a mess.
Korra is a mess as a person and as a show.
Yes. All right. What do we like about this, Mariya?
Oh my god, the animation is butter smooth. Like,
it is really good.
Oh my god. I have not seen smoother like camera work and smoother animation anywhere. Yes. These guys did like not miss out on the like what are the frames that are not the keyframes? The like little
Oh, the in-betweens?
Yes, they did not mess around with those in-betweens. They were all fucking there. It was like smooth as butter, which is saying something because in this entire episode, I think like 2/3 of it was just people doing flips and kicks and like on motorcycles and like bending shit constantly, and it was just like, oh my god, how many did you sacrifice to the animation lords for the ability to do this?
A lot, because not only is the animation really good, but the directing on it is also fantastic.
It is. It's great.
Like, you know, the fight scenes in this show, like Avatar had some really good fight scenes. Mm-hmm. You know it. I know it. The American people know it. However, Korra, oh my god, this fight scene in this episode was so good between her and Mako and the chi blockers.
It was so good because they're so fluid, like, and they're supposed to be, right? Like the chi blockers are all supposed to be like Ty Lee. Ty Lee-esque like demeanor, so they're all like bendy and like, and it's great because like the impact frames are also so well done. Like you like feel it when they do it, and it's just beautiful.
Right. I mean, yeah, they did a lot of cool stuff with Ty Lee, but you know they had to cheat a lot with that.
They did. I think that with Ty Lee, there was a lot of, like, because she wasn't in all the episodes, right? So it was easier for them to, like, do that, I guess, as opposed to, like, these guys that are, like, there for it's several points in the show, right? Like, in the episode.
Yes. Tylee, like, chi blocks, like, how many times? Like 3 in the show?
Yeah, well, like, yeah, again, she's not, like, a very important part of the show or anything, but whenever it does, it's impactful. Like, this was just
Yes.
beautiful. Butter smooth.
This is
the
beautiful,
lighting
butter
was
smooth.
great. The camera work, chef's kiss.
Everything was seamless.
It was so seamless. And James noted how they don't break the 180
Yes.
rule.
During the fight, they do not break the quintessential 180 rule, Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby.
It's just nice to see perfectly cromulent directing going on.
The camera work is so nice, and the 3D and 2D is so seamless. Like, I mean, you can notice it here and there, but it is so well done.
Yeah, the best example of that is when the chi blockers, they're on motorcycles being pursued by Korra and Mako, and the 2D characters are on 3D bikes. It's obvious to any person with a working set of eyeballs can see this.
Yeah.
However, you lose that disconnect because they move together so fluidly.
It's so seamless. It is so seamless.
And they're doing very high intensity stuff.
Yeah, they flip off this one character is riding off of the earth bend that Korra does, jumps with the bike and then lands onto the bike. It's just, you're just sitting there how many did you kill? What did you do?
How many did you kill? They kill a lot of animators for this one.
Oh, good God.
So apparently the studio was very adamant that this show looked good. Okay, we can talk about that actually. So the director of the show in Korea, because they used Korean animation as with most cartoons.
Right.
They outsourced to Korea.
Uh-huh.
They really wanted to show the word that Korean animation can be good, which I disagree with. I think Korean animation is great. I was recently watching a bunch of episodes of Samurai Jack again, and that's Korean animation,
right?
And it's great. I understand why they would think that. Korean animation has a pretty bad reputation, I guess. But I think they're really thinking, I think that's an old way of thinking.
Right.
For 2012.
Right.
That's something you'd think of in the 80s. Really.
Okay,
where you had very stilted anime, maybe some of the 90s. But now, a lot of shows, because Korea is, the animation industry there ain't great, let's be honest, just because of weight. I mean, it's there because it's cheap.
Right.
That's why we animate in Korea, it's because it's cheap. But the work they do there is not bad.
Right.
So, I mean, I admire them for trying to prove themselves, and they proved themselves, with this show. I just don't think it was necessary.
Yeah, that was not an important thing necessarily.
No.
Right.
But of course, I admire what they did.
Yeah.
Because they did.
Oh God, it was so good. The pamphlet scene with all the pamphlets flying around, the spectacle of Amon walking onto the stage, the lighting is impactful. It's just
the lightning bending.
Yes, the lightning bending is great.
Just next level.
Yeah, even the fire bending is smooth. The water bending is smooth. Even the air bending, whatever little she just does the maneuvers this time around. But it is very apparent what they're doing. Even the air bending, however minimal it is, has an impact, right? It's great. It's great. They do a really good job with it. Especially the one scene where Korra tosses the two girls behind her and then they float back down because they're both airbenders. Was a good good moment. we unfortunately didn't get to see like the little guy say anything because he is hilarious. This
He
kid,
wasn't in the episode.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, we didn't get to see him in this episode, but this kid, I mean, fucking give him a stand-up mic and put him in the middle of Republic City because he will make the entire town laugh. This kid is hilarious.
Avatar Tommy Pickles, you mean?
Yes, yes, Avatar Tommy Pickles. Yes.
Did you notice his design is a reference to Tommy Pickles
Yes.
from the Rugrats?
Yes.
Okay.
I did notice that. It's great.
You did notice that. Great. All right. I think that's all of the good stuff we can say about Korra.
Even the music. Well, we forgot about the music.
Okay,
the music
we forgot
is
about
good.
the music.
The music is great, especially when they're like in the battle scene. But then every now and again, it goes to weird like romance level when you're like in an episode where a whole ass character that is integral to the trio is missing, and every now and again they will shift to that like soft violin music, and I'm just expecting somebody to kiss across the street like. And like soccer at a fall and all that stuff. It kind of a little bit feels out of place. Like I get the vibe that they're going for and I fucking love it. But every now and again, like it just kind of feels a little bit out of place because it'll just start playing like softly as you're transitioning and you're just expecting to go into a montage of someone breaking out into like soft poetry and like
yeah.
Nobody kisses, by the way, just for the record.
They get close, though.
I did. Falling asleep on someone's shoulder is not really that close. Anyway,
to be fair though, that track is great, and I love that track.
I fucking love it. It's so good. Anyway.
Oh my god, are we done with the praise though?
Yes.
You have
yes.
feelings.
I have feelings.
You have a lot of feelings in a very tiny package.
Yes, I have emotions. I have opinions. It's a lot, okay?
Oh my god. Anyway, now we have to talk about the bad stuff. Are you ready, Mariya? Let's talk about Amon.
Oh, good God. What part do you want to start with?
Well, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with his wasted potential or the fact that people don't understand what he is?
Let's start with what they don't understand, because that like the little wasted potential part, there's a lot of tangents there, so we should finish this part first so that we can seamlessly tangent if we need to.
Yes, so back when Korra was being aired, there is a meme going around about all the villains of Korra being representative of different ideologies.
Okay.
And for some reason, Amon got paired with communism.
Okay.
Which makes absolutely no goddamn sense. So let's go in and explain what the hell is the deal with Amon and the Equalists.
Oh boy. So when I first watched Korra, I immediately was like, yeah, they're totally going for the whole like Japanese brand of Nazism. This is clearly what is being depicted here, like just based on poster symbology, like on the poster, like the Japanese sun sort of motif is very apparent in that, and it was also very apparent and used a lot in Japanese like Nazism symbology.
Technically not Nazism.
Yeah, but like, yeah.
Well, I guess then again, if you're an ally to a Nazi, I guess that makes you a Nazi.
Exactly. So. Like it's like a lot of like nationalist esque, which very, very like, there's a very, very fine line between that and fascism, and usually they go hand in hand.
So I did a bit of research, Mariya,
okay,
on Japanese fascism.
Okay.
And it seems to be much more militaristic fascism. Yes, the enemy was the West, but their brand was like, we need to unite as a people under the Japanese banner in order to fight against the devils of the West and keep them from, coming in and that, and then I'm just trailing off because I'm realizing how that worked out in the end.
Well, it's so like what's important to understand that is a lot of Japanese politics and these ideologies are very much a response to colonialism around Asia and other parts of the
Which
world.
was very, very bad.
Which was very exactly. So for Japan, the choice was, at least from my understanding, the choice was we either get colonized or we do the colonizing.
Right.
So we either get subjugated and subjected to the horrors of colonialism, which, if you don't know exists, then I don't know what to tell you, man.
Which
Feel
they
some
were
grass,
subjected
read some
to.
history books.
Which
But
Japan was subjected to under America.
Exactly.
They were not technically colonized, but they had a lot. We did it through more economic means.
Yeah,
against them, I believe.
Exactly.
But they were still, we imposed a lot of Christian culture on them in not very nice ways. When it was really bad. It was very, very bad.
It was just like bad news bears all around. And for Japan, the choice was you either turn out to be like your other, East Asian and South Asian counterparts, or you become the colonizers, which is what they chose to do.
So when they drove out the colonizers, they were offered a choice.
Exactly.
And they chose, let's go and attack other people and expand our, military might. And just, it was...
Right. Yeah. Again, like, decisions were made, and here we are.
And let's also go back on, look back on our traditions and the glory days of Japan before we were tainted by...
Yeah, exactly. So
tainted
again,
by colonialism.
Context is kind of important there a little bit. And so here we are, right? Like, we've got a very nationalist Japan, because that's what happens when you have enemies all around you. And yeah, they had a very, very nationalist like propaganda scheme, and a lot of that is kind of see, at least a lot of the symbology you can see in the equalist movement, especially like surrounding Amon and the whole like motif of it.
I mean, look at his mask.
Exactly. Like the like sun, like with the rays and everything, is very,
it's...
Anyway, so that's what I thought when I saw it. I was like, yeah, they're clearly, this is a clear, like, pulling of motifs from nationalist Japan, Nazi Japan, or, like, Nazi-esque Japan.
You could call him Nazi Japan.
Yeah. And, that was fine. And I was like, and I was messaging James, and James was like, no, but they're communists, in his usual derisive comedy. Anyway, so go ahead, tell me.
Oh, well, like I said, there was a meme going around that was comparing Amon to communism, and it's just like, I remember seeing it, and because this is 2012 and I'm a dum-dum back then. Yeah. So I was, oh yeah, that makes sense, and then of course I watch it again later, and I'm like, wait a minute. So, what the heck are they talking about?
I think that isn't, like, surprising, at least to me.
No, it's
because
not surprising at all.
Of the current, like, a lot of ideology of, like, white supremacy and neo-Nazi, like, stuff is up in the news and in the media currently, right? So naturally, like, it is entirely possible that at that time people associated Amon with communism, and I'm associating them with Nazism because of whatever is currently being, I guess, I mean, it is, you want to demonize Nazism. I'm not saying that it isn't, but, like, at that point in time, communism was the demon, the demon like, the demon to like fight, and, all of that. So I
Yeah,
guess I can
we
see
were-
why the rhetoric around it might have been like that.
Yeah, well, America is still coming down from from the huge nationalistic high of 9/11.
Right.
Like we're still in that. We're just starting to come down, and everybody's freaking out
Right.
because they're like, "Where's my fix of nationalism? Come on, give it to me right in the vein." And there's nothing left. It's gone.
Right.
The stash is gone, and the drug dealer got arrested the other day. So, to use a very not apt metaphor.
Yes.
But so yeah, now it's very obvious, that it's a fascist, Nazi-esque, images that they're using. But back then, the fascism was not a ubiquitous word that we use today, and Nazism was still being treated back then as a sort of like spooky boogeyman that that then we'll never let this happen again, despite letting it happen again
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, again, it is, well, not to get too deep into like the whole Nazism thing, but it is basically
Yes.
like we have trained our eyes onto a specific brand of it, and because it is not the same exact brand of it, it's like, no, that can't be it because it's not like it happened last time. Like, like
exactly.
that sort of thing.
Right.
Instead of looking at themes and like contextual evidence and all of that. Anyway, let's not get into that. My point being, Jay's like, at least in my eyes, like all of the equalist movement and like, or at least most of the equalist movement and Amon's like whole character like design and the whole like ambiance around it is very Nazi.
Yes, it is, and it's deliberately that.
At least
very
that's
deliberate.
I
The other
that's
thing,
what I
though,
think
is
it
that
was.
Well, the other problem is that people hear equalists, and they think communism,
Perfect.
which yes and no. Kinda.
Well, so it's really
Oh.
interesting because the reason, like, at least the way that I see it, it's not like Amon is redistributing bending
Yes.
from like rich people to the downtrodden.
Right.
Because there were like a lot of the people that he took bending away from in this specific like rally were like down in the dumps people. These weren't rich
Yes.
people. Well, I guess like they were kind of bullies because they were like the triple threat triad people. So I guess he was getting rid of some people from the streets, sure. But
Well,
like,
yeah, but there's a big difference between a gangster who commits crimes
exactly.
and a venture capitalist. It's
Exactly.
the head of Sato Corp.
Yeah, and so like again, and we sort of pointed out like at least 3 of the people that are named, 3 corporations that are name checked from what we know are like are non-benders. They're non-bender corporations. They are people, rich people, because it's a corporation, that are not benders. In fact, most of the benders that we see are like working class people, or well, I guess we have Tenzin, who's like a counselor.
He's kind of
he's
a
a public
special
service,
case.
like a public service like personnel, not exactly rolling in money.
No,
Currently
he
anyway.
literally doesn't really have a job that pays money.
Exactly, right? Like
So
so everybody
doesn't
else
make
that
any
we
sense.
see that are benders are all working class citizens. Right? Like, I mean, the fact that there isn't a non-bender representative in the council is stupid and kind of adds a little bit of nuance to this like movement just in general. But like, it isn't like the benders are the rich people and the poor people are non-benders. There's clearly like economic class works separately from the bending or people that can bend. They don't have like a I don't know, elevated status to like they don't have access to the class elevator the same way in the way that it is being portrayed anyway.
Yeah, instead the benders, according to the equalists, are portrayed that they have an unfair genetic advantage over them, so they must be brought down,
Yeah.
did that in scare quotes there, to their level through very violent means.
Yeah.
Do you kind of see the connection here between them and a certain group that appeared in the 1930s?
Yeah.
Who also thought that a group of people had an unfair advantage and needed to be
Quote
brought
unquote,
down
brought
a
down.
little.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where, like, a lot of the argument about, like, communism falls apart, because it's not.
We should really talk about why the comparison to communism does not work at all.
Yeah, okay,
in
go
much
ahead.
clearer terms.
You go ahead.
Oh, I go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so the tenets of communism is the ideal view of a classless society where there are no rich or poor people. So I guess you could say an equalist society.
Sure.
In a sense. But they do that through taking the stuff from the rich and redistributing it to the people under them and bringing the rich down to their level.
Mm-hmm.
Through violent means, sure,
Yes.
because politics is violence. You can't have a political you can't change anything in politics without violence of some sort. We saw that through the Black Lives Matter movement last summer.
Yeah.
So, yes, the communist countries, quote unquote communist countries, were also very violent and authoritarian as well. We're not one of those freaks that, like, no, Stalin did nothing wrong. No, Stalin was a very bad man.
Yes.
He was a very, very bad man. And yeah. Anyway, so the equalists, they do not have any ideology based upon class or money or path in society. There's not a lot of that is brought up. And like Mariya said, most benders we see, such as Mako and Bolin, are also poor. So something in the society isn't tracking if you think that this is communism.
Yeah, and again, like, and from what we can tell, most of the non-benders that we see are friggin' loaded. Like, the person that runs the gym, from at least what evidence we have, is a non-bender. At least from what I remember, unless I'm wrong, correct me.
I don't know if we ever know.
Yeah, Cabbage Corps. Fuck it, rich Cabbage Corporation. We got Sato Corp, which is like a whole friggin' steampunk industry right there. And anybody else that we see that actually bends is, again, Bolin, Mako, Korra, who has no concept of money, or laws, or just anything in general, because she comes from, like, a water tribe where they don't really do it that way. You just kind of have food for everybody, sort of thing. And then there is Tenzin, who lives in an air temple, is an air monk, and has divorced himself from most material, thingamajigs. And
thingamajigs. Sure, Mariya.
And then we have I forget her name. Toph's granddaughter, who is a literal, like, who's a cop. Who's a cop. Lynn, there we go. Who's a cop.
Yeah, well, okay, that's the one example of a bender having authority over other people.
Well, I just mean, like, monetary authority, right? Because we all know that trumps everything, even politics.
Right. Yes, that's true. So technically, she's on the side of Sato Corp and the non-benders.
Yeah, technically, because she's
she's a cop, and that's what cops do.
Yeah. Like, they're kind of, like, fall in this weird gray zone where they're like, yes, we have to uphold the laws, and you can't just barge into anybody's house and call them evil or whatever, and so on and such. So
we need police reform in Republic City.
I mean, I guess the police are really cool in Republic City, but also
Well, true, but also.
Yeah.
ACAB.
Yes, definitely. Anyway,
we're getting political.
My point being, like, their entire idea of equality is very skewed, because just because somebody has bending doesn't make them immediately, like, rich, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily give them a free pass to anything.
No, and we really don't even find out because when you're trying to build a fascist movement, you promise the people who follow you something. You promise them a return to a glory day, or you promise them that they'll be rich. I mean, Hitler promised a return to the greatness of Germany before World War One.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. That's basically it. I mean, Japan promised a
prosperous Japan.
Prosperous Japan and a resetting from their colonialist past.
Right.
And so we don't really know what Amon is promising them, other than Benders will be
I guess
gone.
what he's promising is that there will be no Benders anymore. There will be no
Right.
Benders. There will be no injustice at the hands of Benders. Which, again, literally people get assaulted by, I guess Korra, Bolin, and Mako get assaulted by non-Benders with, like, chi blockers and stuff. Like, I'm not saying that Korra isn't going around, like, swinging her dick, but, like...
Wait, what?
Like, because she's usually, like, going around, like, using her bending just willy-nilly and making people do shit because of her bending and, like, sheer force. Anyway, my point being, Korra's not a great example of like, a person that isn't using their bending to their advantage. However...
True. Very true. She does things.
She's not the smartest. She's not the smartest, bulb in the box.
No, she's very not the smartest bulb in the box.
She's not the smartest.
I would say that's probably the biggest weakness of Amon's character. Well, okay, there's a lot more bigger weakness. That's the bigger weakness of his concept.
Yes.
How's that?
Yeah, like, I mean, I get it. Like, they're not trying to, like, full on fascist this. It is clear that they're pulling themes from it, and that's the idea that they're going for.
I'd say, but why not? Like, why not go full fashy with Amon and have him say a return to, like, he's talking about, like, the spirits and
I think I know why. I think that maybe they were expecting to have a proper redemption-esque arc with him.
Well, yeah.
And so going full fashy would make that impossible, right? Like, it's hard for you to go back and redeem, like, somebody who's, mass murdered and committed war crimes.
Then my question is, why do we need to redeem Amon, though? I mean,
because
he is literally
I don't think that
figure.
we need to. I think that that's what they were trying to go for, which sort of tangents us into, like, Amon's story not making any sense. Sorry, lots of F-bombs this episode, but
they're
I
not
have
gonna
emotions.
hear them,
Good. Anyway.
Yeah, let's talk about how Amon makes absolutely no sense as a character.
Okay, so spoiler alerts about Amon and first season, right?
Yeah.
So
he's
Amon
dead.
Well, yes, but, like, also Amon turns out to be, again, spoilers.
Just ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yes. So Amon turns out to be the brother of one of the counselors who is from the Northern Water Tribe and can do bloodbending. And that is, like, a whole bombshell that drops within, like, the last 3 episodes with no warning whatsoever. No initial, like, hinting, nothing. They just freaking pull that shit out their ass, throw it at the wall. And so in this episode, I feel like there was clearly, like, a different idea going around for what Amon was supposed to be, because
actually, I think I might have found out why.
Okay, let me
this
finish.
Happened.
Because
sorry.
Because we hear Mako's story about their family and how they were killed by firebenders, and then we hear Amon's story about how his family and his entire village was destroyed by a firebender. And it seemed very clear by both of these stories appearing in the same episode that there was a parallel that they were trying to draw that then never, like, turns into anything.
No,
And
these revelations happen pretty close to each other too,
yes,
so you
yeah.
notice them.
Yeah, you notice them happening. Like 1 second, they're sitting under a tree, all sad and beaten up by the chi blockers, and like, Mako's like, yeah, Bolin is all I have. My family was murdered and robbed, like very Batman. Origin story. And then we have Amon that talks about it literally like maybe 5 minutes later in his like rally about how his family was killed, and he has a big old burn scar on his face, and that's why he wears a mask, and blah blah blah, all that, and yab. But like, so you notice it, you see the parallel, you're like, oh, maybe something's gonna happen with this, but it doesn't. Instead, they just flip the script on Amon and turn him into a waterbender that was controlling people by bloodbending, which doesn't make any sense because the people that were bending, that were trying to bend but couldn't bend, move freely on the stage. Like, when they try to bend, they move freely. They're not struggling. You don't see them struggling in their movements or anything. So he can take people's bending away, for sure. And then he talks about, like, spirit stuff without ever, like, really going into that.
No, that's never brought up again.
It's never brought up again, which is dumb. It's stupid. And is it almost feels like they were building him up to be a character that could have been like a kind of like unwilling, not an unwilling, but like a hesitant member of the Korra gang at some point to help Korra do like spirit related stuff.
Yes.
Which it kind of felt like, because it has been noted throughout the first season that Korra is not good at spirit stuff. She hasn't been visited by any of the avatars, and she finds it difficult connecting to the spirit world in any way, shape, or form. She's very good with the material, like punchy and bendy stuff, but she's not very good with trying to like be calm and sit still and, not be a freaking crazy person for a little while. And so it felt like they were trying to go from this like tragic child backstory that connects to Bolin and Mako as characters that are not the main character that also should get stories, and this sort of like character that could help Korra maybe connect to the spirit world in the same way that Zuko helps Aang learn firebending towards the end. So it felt like they were trying to go for something like that, and then it never happens, and they flip the script on you. They do a full like 180 and just break the 180 rule in the story terms and just give you fucking whiplash, because now he's a bloodbender and a waterbender, and is like the brother of a prolific like city council member. And yes, James.
How come Korra and Amon never actually talk to each other?
Exactly. Okay, so this is another complaint that I had about the show. Characters don't interact with each other and like have fun in the same way that like Aang and the Aang gang did. Because like when Aang or Sokka cracked a joke, the other characters laughed at the jokes. Like other characters acknowledge something funny happened, would laugh, and then move on from it, or like would like fade into dialogue. In this show, friggin' Tenzin's youngest makes jokes all the time, and nobody laughs at it. They just pretend it's just like robots. Nothing, like as if nothing was said, and they just move on, and you're just like, not even a look in the camera to acknowledge a joke. They just move on, and I'm just like, there was a joke that was funny. You were supposed to laugh or like smack him in the head or something. What the hell? Anyway, go ahead, James.
Why didn't Amon teach Korra airbending?
Well, Amon isn't a bender.
No, but why didn't he teach her like to access like the spirits and stuff?
I don't know. I feel like that's what they were going for, but then they didn't for
Then
some
they blew
reason.
him up.
Well, I feel like they try to wrap up Amon way quicker than they wanted to.
Yes.
It almost felt like they didn't have enough time or some shit like that. and like needed to
Yes.
end this like whole thing. I sent James an entire paragraph of like what should have happened instead of this, because there's like a lot of stuff that happens and there's a lot of cool things that could have happened story moment wise, like that would have given a lot of the characters a lot more depth that they do not get, and not even the second season. And I've seen the second season. I have opinions about the second season for a later date.
The second season is a mess.
For a later date. Put a pin in that. Like stab it in there. Go ahead, James.
What was the main conflict of this season? What was the conflict going? Cause okay, in the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Yes.
the main conflict of the first season is we got to get to the Northern Water Tribe.
Yes.
And we are being pursued by the Fire Nation
Yep.
the entire way through.
Yep.
That is the main conflict.
Yep.
In Korra, it's, well, we gotta go to nationals, and we gotta beat up the equals, and we gotta learn airbending.
So.
And I gotta kiss Mako on his pretty face.
It's really interesting because there is some level of romance that is throughout the entire Avatar series, right? Between like there is that tension between Katara and Aang, and you get snippets of it every now and again. But it's not like the
great.
crux. It's great because it's not like the crux of the show, right? Like it's something that happens on the side. It is something that they build together.
Because Katara has wants and needs other than I want to smooch Aang on his pretty face.
Exactly. Which is a very pretty face. But like, and then over here,
She's
like I get
older
it.
than him, isn't she?
I think so. I mean, he is like 113 years old.
He's not, though.
Anyway, my point being, like, jokes aside, like, like Korra and like Mako can do all their like whatever. Like I get it. They're trying to do like this almost like teenager-esque way of like story, right? Like I get it. It's a little more mature. It's not like straight cut. You know, the love interests don't always work out. It's like you're growing up. You know, your boyfriend's gonna cheat on you, and that's okay. And you're gonna get mixed signals from a girl, and she's not gonna like you that way, and that's okay.
Marco's such a shit.
He is such a shit. Anyway, so you know, like I get that. I get that part is great. Even like the pro bending is a good like peripheral moment of tension where you don't have like big tensions, but you can have like these little blips of it related to the pro bending, right? Like where it is a point of tension, but it's not like as crazy because it's a fucking game, get over it. But then you have like the equalists that go like higher up in their peaks. And I think that they were trying to go for Korra, and the way that she does bending and understands it is the kind of bending and the way that people abuse it that the equalist movement is against. Because Korra walks in, flipping shit over, punching people in the face, in a city that has laws that is built to make sure that benders and non-benders remain equal in the eyes of the law. So with her walking in, kicking over trash cans, and not facing consequences for it, is exactly the kind of shit that the equalists are against. Yeah.
But she never learns to stop doing that by the end of the season.
Exactly. That's the thing, right? That should have been the point of tension, because there are moments when Korra realizes that her job is to mediate between benders and non-benders, because there's the whole like strike thing that happens where they're trying to round up non-benders, and by calling them equalists and, you know, like calling all non-benders equalists and that stuff. And that's when she realizes what her role is as an avatar, and it's more serious, and it's not just bending, it's not just pro bending, it's not just throwing shit at people. There's a lot more nuance there, and they don't do anything with it. They don't fucking get in the weeds and have her have that like confrontation with herself and everybody else. Go ahead.
What does that have to do with airbending?
Okay, so I can see what that has to do with airbending because it adds another point of tension. It almost feels like they're building several points of tensions that they then fucking immediately discard aside, because it feels like they're setting up the tension between Korra and her relationship with being an avatar, her being a failure as an avatar from different aspects, from not being able to mediate between benders and non-benders, from not being able to mediate between spirits and material, and not being able to complete all four bendings, because that is the three facets of an avatar. It is balance between benders and non-benders, balance between the elements, and balance between spirit and material. And so they've already set up these three flaws within Korra. It is there for them to exploit and hone, but they don't do it. What they could have done was, in this season, they could have dealt with her being able to mediate between benders and non-benders. Then you move on to maybe airbending or something like that, and then you move on to balancing the elements. Balancing the spirit and the material. But they don't do that. It is clear that they're setting it up, because she walks in and she's kicking trash cans over and she's being a little shit and not understanding laws and stuff that are supposed to keep people equal, and there is this like antagonist that is the equalist movement's leader, and she is the exact kind of bending person that they are against. This person that can just take shit whenever because they can throw a fireball at you, but they don't do anything with it. And Katara, sorry, not Katara. Why do I keep saying Katara? Korra never has an actual conversation with Amon. None of the characters ever talk to Amon in a way that is not them like being enemies with each other. There's none of that. There is no like type of connection, which is what we kind of like talked about with Bolin being captured and like trying to connect with Amon after his speech, even if it is to gain like some respite and some a moment to escape. This like moment of connection between the two of them, saying something along the lines of like, I know what you feel. My parents were killed by firebenders too, right? Like, and making this moment of like empathy between this character, but they don't do it. They don't do any of it. No. They don't take that moment and try to build on it and try to create this like nuanced view between Mako and Bolin, who are also wasted potentials, whose characters don't get as wholly explored. And this would have been a good way to do that. This would have been a good tension point to explore for those two characters. Heck, even a point of fracture between the two of them, because one of them is like, you know what? I see it. I get it. I get what he's saying. You know, I don't think that he's he's the bad guy necessarily. Like he's, like circumstances were awful, right? Like, all that stuff. And so he, like there is that idea of trying to empathize, and this is why I think they didn't go full fascist with Amon. I feel like they were trying to find a way to reweave him into the storyline, that I don't think that he should have died at the end of season 1, that he should have been a recurring point of tension in some way, shape, or form, and he should have been an important like character that helps build these other characters into more nuanced versions of themselves, which is again something that happens with all of the characters in Avatar. We see all of them grow in some way, shape, or form, whether it was within the span of an episode or over the course of the entire show. Zuko, for example, going from like full antagonist to like right-hand man, right? Like
Yeah, we never see though any antagonist grow. I mean, like even there's no nuance in most of the antagonists in Korra. Well, I don't want to say that. There's a lot of nuance in the later one. In the first two seasons, there is no nuance.
There isn't, even though
with
there
the
is
antagonist.
and the thing is, there's opportunity for it, right?
Yes,
Like there's
that's the
clear
problem.
cut opportunity for it, but they decide to like just
And
throw it out the window.
yeah, I mean, like even Zhao. Do you remember Zhao from Avatar? Mariya? From
Yes,
the first season?
yes.
Even he had nuance to him.
Yes.
He wasn't redeemed at the end.
He was
You
not.
You don't need to but he as we've said before, he was an understandable villain.
Exactly.
Even though all of his choices were wrong. You understood everything about him, and at the end, he chose to die and not give up his ideals rather than, I don't know. He was an idiot.
Yeah. Anyway, it was not. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
but there is substance to this character, and I don't think Amon was supposed to be that, and I don't think that
No.
even.
Well, okay, that's my other point, though.
Yes.
If they didn't want to make him on full fascist,
Mm-hmm.
then he should have been the puppet character of like Sato Corp's president, Asami's dad.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been the weapon of the fascist.
I can see that.
He is the German people being manipulated by the fascists.
I can see that. I can see like a young Amon like having figured out how to, block people's bending permanently
by finding the spirits.
Exactly. And having been manipulated into this like bizarre well, not bizarre, but like this like movement caricature by like taking advantage of his strong ideals and his beliefs and like molding it into something that is more of a like moment of this thing.
That would have been more interesting though, because fascism it feeds hatred. It feeds blind hatred.
Yeah.
The hatred that is going nowhere within a society because there's nothing to either help mitigate the hatred or there's no location for it to go to because the people have been so beaten down by some tragedy in the past,
right.
that they have this inbuilt darkness within them, which happens in society.
Right.
But what a society do is it should make sure that darkness never grows or comes out in the majority of its people.
Yeah.
But what a fascist does is it feeds into that darkness
and spreads
Amon
it
has
out
this,
into people, right?
Yes, until they become something inhuman.
Right.
Which is Amon should be on that slippery slope.
Yeah, which leads into a good moment of realizing that like even a small bit of humanity by just something as simple as Bolin connecting with him on a human, on empathetic level, bringing out this like part of humanity in Amon himself, which like sort of leads to like cracks in his idea of what he thinks is true or not true, right? Like even just something.
Though.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the thing, though. You can't fight fascism with violence, really.
Exactly.
Fascism is a violent movement. All of it is about death and destruction and hatred. You can't fight it with that. You have to fight it with love and helping people.
Exactly. With patience and
patience
and yeah. Like
and
yes.
a community.
I mean yes, community, and like nipping it in the bud is also probably a good idea. But like
you have to give the people something to believe in other than we were great once. Let's be that again.
Yeah.
Through
and
violence.
This group here right here is the reason we're not, so let's get rid of them and then we will be great, right? Like so that building of hatred and resentment and then pointing it towards something, a very specific thing, and being like, that is the source of your problem, get rid of it and your problems will be solved, right? Like, which is what the Equalists did, right? Like, it's like, you're downtrodden non-benders, your problem is the benders. We get rid of the benders, we'll solve all our problems, right?
And we're not saying this in the very liberal way of, if we just get rid of all the bad people, then all the bad people will be gone.
Which is not how that's
not how you do it. You have, yes, you have to get rid of fascists. You can't really turn somebody if they've gone full fascist. It's very hard.
Right.
But people
basically,
who have that...
it's actually this like really interesting. I'm going to use a plant analogy, and I apologize.
Oh my God.
But usually, what happens is an unhealthy plant breeds conditions for disease, and once the disease is spread, you have to throw away the whole plant.
Right.
If you see it quick enough and you exterminate it at that point, so you take it, you put in precautions, you look at the signs, you see, oh, this like little bit of thing here and this little yellowing of leaves there and all of that, and you readjust your care plan for your plant, you can prevent it, you can stop it, right? But once it's gone neglected for too long, at that point you just have to throw away the plant. You can't bring that plant back. It's gone now. It has been destroyed because you left it in a condition that allowed something like this to take root in the first place. That is exactly how fascism works. If it is in a position where you start seeing the signs first and you get rid of the conditions that allow it to propagate, you've dealt with the problem. But once it's seeped in completely, you have to throw it out. You have to start with a new seed. There's no other way, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it's at.
Right. And the problem with our current strategy to fight fascism is, if we're using the plant analogy, it's be like, okay, we're going to put this plant that's diseased over here.
Right.
And we'll just kind of move it away. It's still here.
Exactly.
We're still going to, allow it to exist and allow it to spread its own, it's going to shoot that disease over at us. But because it's over there, we can ignore it.
We can pretend it's not there.
We can pretend it's not there, and we can say, good on us, we banned it from Twitter. Oh, wait, sorry.
Sorry, the analogy Sorry, the analogy broke the fourth wall. We apologize.
Yeah.
But like, and
mission
like,
accomplished banner.
Yeah, you basically you get rid of the plant, you move it aside, but it's still in the nursery, right? Like you've moved it away, but it's still in the nursery, and it has not like been thrown out. So now slowly your other plants will also start getting disease. So you start putting those slightly away, but you don't remove them from the nursery. And it just keeps happening and happening until you don't have any plants left anymore because you did not get rid of the diseased one early enough and put it elsewhere, right? Like,
right, which is exactly how Hitler rose to power. I mean, he was elected. They elected him because they didn't quarantine or they didn't exterminate the diseased plants.
Exactly.
They allowed them to exist.
Again, extermination not in like the people term. Like we're not saying kill people. We're not saying kill people.
Of course
we just
not,
mean like removing the conditions to allow that to propagate, eliminating the factors like poverty and homelessness and proper health care and.
Though I will say. That video of the Nazi that got punched did a lot more to fight fascism than a lot of other things.
Sometimes you just gotta punch a Nazi, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Like we said before, violence is political, and it's sometimes stuff needs to get violent, though hopefully not too violent. But it's just a reality of what we as human beings are.
Humans are weird. Anyway, back to this.
Weird.
So,
what were we talking about?
So this is where we're at with Amon and his character. And there's a lot more, like, wasted potential sort of in this
Yeah.
show. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy,
Like-
as someone who's seen Avatar, was like thirsty for them backstory bits of like of just like little peeks into adult Aang gang.
Oh God! Oh, we forgot about that.
Yeah, and
We forgot about that.
and like, you know,
we don't have a lot of time.
we don't have
Maria.
a lot of time for that. We'll get it. We'll watch another episode of Korra so I can like
God.
really
All
really
right,
sort
we'll
of
watch.
hammer into that, because there is an episode where the siblings are like together and doing
Yeah,
like sibling shit.
Look, Maria. That's season 2 stuff. We'll watch an episode of season 2, and then we can talk about
Exactly.
it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we can watch that
And then get
episode.
in-
We can talk about that.
And then we can get into all of the problems with season 2,
Oh,
which is way
God.
more than season 1.
It is way more than season 1. They just
Season
completely,
1.
spoiler alert, they completely ruined a lot of
Everything.
things that Avatar sets up for the world, especially the water tribes. I feel like
Right.
they do not do
It's
justice to the
really
water
bad.
tribes at all. So
No, it's
that's
really
what I
bad.
think. But we'll probably watch that at some point and talk about it
Yeah.
again, because this is Hell in a Cell, and
God. We're still doing this for some reason.
we're still here. We're still here.
Alright. Last thoughts on Amon. I really think he would have been better as like as a puppet character, as the person you can bring back from the darkness,
Yes.
who then, begrudgingly helps Korra access her spiritual side in the second season, other than the guy who's there whose character is I'm bad.
Exactly. Yeah, and like, the thing is like, and I guess like one of the biggest like glaring problems is that in Avatar, there's no like bad guy. I mean, there's a guy who is driven by complete ambition and that just blinds him. But there's no like evil because they're evil kind of a person.
No, evil is not a real concept that exists that you can measure.
Exactly.
Some people are just bad.
Yeah.
Azula is not redeemed at the end. She's
Is not.
just a bad person.
Well, the thing
She
is, that's not even my point. My point is like,
Oh, sorry.
there isn't good or bad in the same way. There are motives that are harmful and not harmful, right? So there is
Right.
the motive for Azula is that she is ambitious and power hungry to a considerable degree and is trying to prove herself to her dad. There is Fire Lord Ozai, who is an ambitious, power hungry person whose initial ideals was to unite all the nations under the Fire Nation because we were so prosperous and we should spread our prosperity, sort of thing. So it started off as an ideal that then just snowballed into imperialist sort of dictatorship realm. But that's the
Right.
thing, right? Nobody is good or bad. There are motives, and some of them are detrimental to the balance, and some of them are not. And it is the job of the Avatar to get rid of those detrimental issues, because then it's not a black and white issue. It is an issue of nuance. It is an issue of how do we allow this to exist without taking something away, and without propagating this. So
Right.
Aang not killing, if it was a black and white issue, Aang would have killed Sozin. Oh, it's not Sozin, Ozai. But he didn't. I keep confusing the two
You
up
mixed up their names
so
before.
many times. Yes. Anyway, so Aang would have killed Ozai. If it was a black and white issue, he would have killed Ozai. But that is not the Avatar's job. Their job is to make balance, not to just take people's lives willy-nilly. And that is where fundamentally Korra is different, because you can clearly see that the writers or people, at least the creators of the show, have sort of boxed some people into good and bad. Like, they've boxed Amon into bad, and there's no like, there's no nuance there. There's no like thing of redemption. There's no like understanding of motives and being like, this is why he did this or whatever.
Well, there is, but then it's completely negated later on in the season.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, they start with it and then they don't do anything with it. So the end result is a character that you have taken an element from the previous show that people were not okay with and then put it onto a character that is still bad. And just, mess it all up.
Man, Aang got born in the wrong time.
He really did.
It would be so easy for him to be Avatar when Korra is Avatar.
God.
All these people are just bad. He's good. He just has to kick their butts, and that's it. No thinking about any nuance or,
God.
what are the consequences of my actions? Whereas Korra, going back into Avatar's time, would be like, can I just punch him? And it was like, no, there's much more socio-economic,
impacts here.
Impacts to your actions. It's just like, oh God, I just want to punch it.
Which again makes sense because like that Korra is not a bad Avatar. They don't hone her the same way that they hone Aang. Aang is like goes traveling around the entire world becoming a good Avatar. Korra doesn't really grapple. Like, there are moments where she doubts herself, but it amounts to nothing. It amounts to absolutely nothing, and stuff is just handed to her. Every now and again, the people are like, oh shit, we forgot to do like a whole nuance thing. It's fine. Let's just like let her return people's powers back. Whatever. Like, there's no earning of that. There's no like, Korra losing her powers at the end of the season and only knowing airbending is such an important point of tension. It is such a good point to leave that season off in and then start off with her trying to figure out how to get her powers back.
Nah, we only got one season? Screw it, get her powers back. Oh wait, we got 3 more seasons? Well, shoot.
Yeah. And they didn't even fix it with attacking dream scene. Just be like, she just wakes up in the second season and is like, oh shit, I still don't have my powers. What the
Yeah, the only time when she actually starts to become a good Avatar is when she does what Aang does and travels. Spoiler alert for season 3 and 4.
Yeah, and like that is how you build character, I guess. Because it's an.
What was the point of Republic City then?
Well, that's the thing. The whole point of Republic City was supposed to teach Korra the like balance of benders and non-benders and like mediating that sphere, because her whole life she's just been around benders. So mediating a sphere of like 2 groups of people that both have valid concerns and how to negotiate between those 2. That was the point of Republic City, or at least rather should have been the point of Republic City, but never ends up being. Like, it should have been Korra trying to balance between the benders and non-benders of Republic City, losing half her bending powers, and then going on a like quest to figure out a way to contact Aang in the spirit world. This allows you to have a season of Korra like trying to figure out how to live her life without her bending, because she's been born with it her whole life, or like has had it since she was young, and have like a season where she deals with not having all of her bending and tries to find Amon or some shit like that, or spends her time in Republic City dealing with the aftermath of Amon while the others go looking for Amon, and she's here with half her bending powers gone, connecting with the people of Republic City and honing her ability to mediate between those 2 and making Republic City a better place that is fair for both people, because it is clearly not fair. Like with the council only being like benders, it's not fair. But so that is what Republic City was supposed to be for. her creating that balance there and then moving on to a different thing, whether it is to like the Northern Water Tribe to do spirit shit, or to find Amon and do spirit shit there, and then relearning how to get back her bending. Like,
You know, Mariya,
yes.
you don't have to edit this episode.
Why?
We're at an hour and a half.
Oh, I
right
see.
now.
All right, I'm sorry. We're ending it. You're the one that's
Yeah.
usually complaining when we go short. You want me to vamp, and you want me to say stuff, and now when I'm saying stuff, you're trying to put a muzzle on me. Anyway.
Did you want to edit the episode then? You can keep going.
No, it's fine. I'm sorry.
I'm not editing a 2-hour episode, Mariya.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's only an hour and a half. Okay.
Oh my god. In conclusion, Legend of Korra sucks.
I mean,
Thank you and good night.
it has potential and it was wasted, is a more nuanced way of saying that.
Sure, why not? Whatever. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Amon, you deserve better. Korra,
What the fuck,
You
my
get-
guy?
you got about the same time. Bolin, best character in the show. Mako can go suck it.
I
Asami,
mean-
also best character.
Asami is freaking great. 10 out of
What?
10.
What do you rate Korra, the Revelation?
Oh, God.
I forgot to say the title of the show, The Revelation.
2. I rated 2, and both of those are for animation.
The animation is beautiful, and I love it.
It's so beautiful.
I'm
Even
done.
the character designs are very, very good.
Oh, Korra looks great. I love Korra's
Korra looks
design.
great. They don't make her like all weird and twiggy because she's a woman. She's like all like
No,
buff
she's
and
strong.
fit. She's like punch you in the
She is-
face. It's beautiful.
She is strong, and I love it. Everybody has Amon's a great character design. What a waste.
I know,
on
such
that.
a beautiful
Oh
character
my God.
design. Ugh.
Oh God, I'm tired of this. I just wanted Korra to be good.
I
and
know.
it wasn't.
I'm sorry.
I was watching it. I did the rewatch of like this. Everybody shits on Korra, but I know Korra's great. Oh shit, Korra's bad.
Yep.
Oh, Korra's real bad. Oh no. That was my reaction.
Yeah, that about checks. I mean, yeah, I was pretty disappointed too because I'd watched Avatar and I was like, did y'all not watch Avatar?
They did not watch Avatar,
Yeah.
apparently.
Any hoodles.
I'm done.
How do you rate it?
Go away.
Oh, I see. All right, fine. What are we watching next time?
Oh, we are watching. Okay, Maria, do you remember A Silent Voice?
Yeah.
We're gonna watch the author's follow-up, To Your Eternity, for anime. Whatever. I don't think we're doing anime April. We've watched a lot of anime.
We watched
Well,
so much anime.
We watched a lot of anime. You know what? I'm tired of anime. I'm really tired of anime. Anime sucks. Anime was a mistake, so we're gonna only watch a bit of anime, which is this bit.
Yep, this bit.
So we're gonna
Yep.
watch To Your Eternity. The first episode, Maria's gonna cry.
Why? Why do you make me cry?
There's a dog in it.
Ah.
Anyway, the end.